Good morning, children. It is a beautiful rainy day this morning, and I think that is a perfect ending to a summer. It has been raining like crazy lately, so I have been inspired to do an end of the summer video to just say, well, I've been reading. I have been reading so much, I swear I have no life, but might as well put that to good use. This is only the best of. Honestly, it's been a really good reading summer. I don't have a lot to complain about with the books I have been reading. Honestly, there were probably more I should have put on this list, but I was trying to narrow it down to an even 8. Okay. I guess I could have done 10, but I don't know. Too late now filming. So one of the first books I did read this summer that really kind of got me out of a pretty big reading slump was A Man Called Of. And I know this one's been around like forever and I'm way behind, but oh my gosh, this one was so beautiful. I cried so much. Basically, this is a book that takes a person you already may have preconceived notions about and completely show a new side to them. I work retail, and one of my least favorite customers are like these entitled, grumpy, like super angry for whatever reason, like old people. But I spent the entire like first few chapters of this book cringing because I just felt like I was back at work being belittled by this customer. But it gets beautiful. It brings this character to like so many new heights that you wouldn't otherwise see by seeing him in his everyday life, what he's been through, why he is the way he is. Oh, my absolute favorite quote in here is, "A man isn't what he says, it's what he does." And I think that this is a beautiful example of that, because even though the lead character is completely and utterly rude to everyone around him, and like tells them they're always doing everything wrong, he's always willing to help and show them what he thinks is right. And like he just grumpily goes along with just about anything because he's just a very helpful person. I loved hearing about his past and everything that he's been through. Beautiful character that got a 5 out of 5 stars from me. All right, another great one that I read this summer. Actually, I just finished it like last week. Once again, has been out forever, and I had no excuse to not read it before other than I just bought it, and that is The Girls by Emma Cline. And holy cow, this one was so disturbing. It takes place at the end of the 60s, I think like 69, getting into the 70s, and it is about a 14-year-old girl who joins a cult. And it's, my gosh, everything horrible you can expect. It actually reflects a lot. It's fictional, but it reflects a lot on like the Manson murders and that kind of thing, with the way the cult is kind of run and how everything ends up. That's not a spoiler. They say that in like the first chapter. And I think what I absolutely loved the best by this author is they knew exactly what it was like to be a 14-year-old girl. And I know that's something that obviously she is a girl. She was 14 at one point, so of course all of us knew what it was like to be a 14-year-old girl, but I don't think I could ever encapsulate it as well. Shows like all of the insecurities like that just go completely into like absolute security. It has a lot of obsession with it that everyone doesn't admit that they had at 14, and it kind of just goes along with how a person's wanting to be, how they're wanting to live their life, and it is so beautiful, so terrible. Read it, but read it with wine. Last one, I swear, everything else I've read this summer is probably more current, and this one has been around way longer than any others, but I just had to talk about it because I haven't been thinking about it since I finished reading it, and that is The Book Thief. And I read this because Marcus Zusick is actually coming out with a new book this fall that I'm so excited to read now, and I was all like, oh no, he wrote The Book Thief, how have I not read that yet? And it's been on my shelf forever, but I have a lot of shelves with a lot of books, so it's taken a while to get around to it. This one left me sobbing in the bathroom floor. I'm gonna be completely willing to admit that. It was beautiful and heart-wrenching. It does such a wonderful thing that I have never seen before in a book, where the narrator of the entire book is actually death during the Holocaust. So you get a lot. And the thing is, it's another one of those books, you know how it's going to end. They tell you all throughout it. So you're like, okay, I can be prepared for this. I can be prepared for this. I was not prepared for this. Oh my gosh. No, I can't even think about it without crying. Like, I don't know. I watched the movie like right afterwards because it had Joffrey Rush in it, who I love. All right, getting to something different. Probably my biggest impulse buy of the year. And I normally don't buy books like as soon as they come out. Normally I wait till they're in a nice paperback edition because it's cheaper and it makes more room on my shelves, which is terrible. But this one just called to me, and once you see the cover, I hope that you understand, because I still don't understand why it did. My year of rest and relaxation. And maybe it was just one of those days and I just saw this face and I was like, yeah, I'm feeling it too. The entire plot is just one sentence. Girl tries to sleep for an entire year. It takes place in like the late 90s, so I don't know, it's kind of, I say this like I know for a fact because I was like 6 at this time in life, but it kind of shows the apathy of kind of everyone at the time and not knowing what to do next, like pre 9/11, and it's just kind of about trying to find a purpose or a rebirth, and that's what she's doing because she can't hold her job because she doesn't care about it. She just doesn't care about anything, so she just decides to sleep it off and be reborn as a new person. And the book just goes like to these super weird extremes because she has this psychiatrist who I swear is not legal because they can keep prescribing her these medicines based off of nothing. She's like lying to them and they're like, oh yeah, take this, and it's like stronger and stronger sleeping pills as the story goes on because the other ones aren't working anymore. And it like gets to this crazy thing where she starts having these blackouts and like sending pictures of her butthole to people on the internet without knowing it. I might cut that part out because that, I don't know, it's not a spoiler, or it might be because so little happens in this story. I still loved it though. I think the lead was a great character to look into. Not a good person at all by any means, but one I loved to read about. I honestly gave this one 5 stars too, and I didn't expect to. I absolutely adored this. And what really inspired me to start doing reviews on stuff, like I've always wanted to, reading has always been my absolute passion, but through my work I actually got an advanced reader's copy from Lee and Low Books, and that is, I'm gonna butcher this name, I am so sorry, Guadalupe Garcia McCall's All the Stars Denied. This one was beautiful, but I got sent this one through work. No one at work reads, so whenever we got it in, I was like, oh, this is an advanced reader's copy. If someone sends it to you, they want you to review it and promote it. And I was like trying to tell my bosses what a great honor it was to get one, because book sales have been going up this year at the place I've been working at, and they're just like, well, okay, you can have it. Like, just read it and like review it for our Facebook. Like, they didn't care at all, and I was like, yes, books. But this one's a young adult, and I don't typically read them. I'm not going to go into that because that's a whole other thing. But this is a historical fiction, which I absolutely love reading at any time. And this one actually went into a point of history I didn't even know happened. Basically, it is about a Mexican-American family that live on the Mexican border, live on the American-Mexican border in Texas. And it takes place during the Great Depression, where at the time there was a ton of people getting deported because everyone was in a panic. And like their town had these roundups where the cops would just come and ship people off without checking to see if they were actually American first. But anyways, the lead, Estrella, and her family try to protest all of these like horrible things happening, and like everyone in her town is super racist. So they plead their case to like the town council. Their house gets burnt down and the entire family gets deported, even though they are Americans. Like, I swear, I was writing notes on this. I was taking very detailed notes as I was reading because I wanted as thorough a review as I could. And then I got to this one point where that happened and I just put the book down for 2 days. I paced around, I rage cleaned, I got so mad. And as you keep going, the situation of the family just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. This book made me very angry, but it was so beautiful and the family was wonderful. Going through it, I have no regrets reading this at all, and I was super honored to get an arc of it and being able to review it and promote it as much as I can beforehand. But I definitely recommend it. It comes out in September. Super good. I recently joined the Book of the Month club, which I'm very much enjoying, and one of my options on one of the months was to order something that had been a Book of the Month thing like forever ago. So I picked The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. It opens in the present day where Evelyn Hugo gets a journalist to write her dying confession for her. She wants all of the truth out because there's always been a lot of controversy. She's had 7 husbands throughout her life, and like the media always was kind of on her for that. So getting a last confession from her is going to be a really big deal to tell, like to tell all about everything. And it goes through her story and it goes through her marriages while following her acting career. It was so beautiful and heartbreaking. I don't know how much I want to say about this because I just want you all to read it. Like, I want you all to read it twice. It's so good. But it has a lot of really great themes to it about staying true to yourself and who you are versus what you project onto the world, and all of the pressures of being in the spotlight constantly, and how what you see from someone is not at all what's really going on in their lives. And it's just gorgeous. Like I said, I don't want to say a lot. It has a lot about identity. It's beautiful. It's heartbreaking. It's another one that left me crying. But then again, I cry at all sorts of things. Don't let that be a spoiler. Books will make me cry over really happy things, after really sad things. I cry watching Mary Poppins, and there's absolutely nothing sad about that. So that's not going to be a spoiler at all to you, and I just had to admit something super embarrassing. That's okay. I'm ending this off with probably the best book I have read this summer, which I am so excited to talk about because okay, I have a book club, and this is the one that we voted on for the month, and that was Circe by Madeline Miller. Holy crap. Okay, first off, I love Greek mythology, and this has all of the Greek mythology. Circe, of course, is the witch in the Odyssey that turns Odysseus's men into pigs and lives on the island. But so basically, this book is about her life. She was born in the house of Helios, the sun god, and her mother was a nymph. So she was actually born a witch, but that didn't come up until later in her life, and all of her brothers and sisters were born witches. So once found out, Zeus banished her to an island, and it is basically a story of this woman just overcoming every single obstacle, where it starts out and she's living with the gods and the other divinities. And there's like this sick, apathetic tone to everything because nobody cares about anybody else and they're just wanting all of the drama. Like, it's like a bunch of people just watching MTV. Like, it's ridiculous. But she, at an early age, shows a lot of compassion for people, where she actually meets Prometheus before he gets chained to the mountain to like be disemboweled every day for eternity, and she shows kindness to him. And that's one of those things that she keeps showing throughout the book. Even though she is put up against trial after trial, it doesn't harden her, it doesn't make her like any more apathetic, and like being immortal doesn't make her apathetic. She definitely has something different to her, and everyone makes fun of her because she seems more human than anything. Like, her voice is like a human's, and she has a lot of compassion, which never goes away. And it talks about her time on the island, why she started turning men into pigs, and what happens with Odysseus and everything. And afterwards, She lives such a beautiful, beautiful life, and it shows her going through so many trials and growing stronger from them and learning. I can honestly say that Cersei is probably the most well-written female protagonist that I have read at all this year. I absolutely loved this. Madeline Miller has a way with words. Like, every single scene is beautiful, and she's the kind that explains but doesn't over-explain, so you can like fill in the blanks yourself. Honestly, if I could describe this book in one word, it is gorgeous. Like, it is just beautiful. Also, look at this cover. It's so pretty too. I was really glad to get this one in hardback. It was definitely one of my best reads. And that's kind of my best reads of the summer. I started Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel last night. I feel like this probably would have made it to the list too, but I only got 100 pages in. But that one's beautiful as well. You'll probably hear about that some other time because I'm really excited about it. It's really great so far. It has a big sense of bigness to it, if that makes sense. All right, I guess that is it. I'm probably going to make a fall TBR video later on, but if you have any questions, if you read any of these books too that you really like, comment below. Honestly, that's all I have to say. Awkward outro.